Hey guys, in this video we're going to be looking at the Eachine QX90C, and if you guys have been a long-time viewer of my channel, you'll know that back in August of last year I reviewed the original QX90, and this is sort of a follow-up version of that model, although it's not really all that similar to the old one. But I'll put a link in the or card up in the corner if you guys want to check out that video. Unfortunately, I didn't get a chance to really fly that model all that much because I had one or two bad motors on that model and ended up crashing it pretty much right away and was not able to fly it. Ended up putting all the parts into a different frame, and it flew really well on some Spintech motors. So I don't really know if the flight characteristics of that one are all that different or the same to this one. It's a similar sort of square X frame, so I would imagine it would be pretty similar, but honestly I couldn't tell you because I never really had a chance to fly it. Anyway, this particular model I think I've heard some really good things about, and it's got some different components on there. For example, the receiver's built in now instead of being a separate part, so it should be a little bit lighter. The frame is not carbon fiber and it's plastic, and we have some different props in this one too. So let's go ahead and get it out of the box and we'll take a closer look at it. Okay, so here's a look at the manual. Take a look at it really quickly. This looks pretty similar to the original QX90 manual. And you got some drawings here and diagrams on the flight board. And this one has a built-in receiver. And you got some Cleanflight setup instructions here. You got some instructions for your Taranis for FreeSky, and I think there's going to be also FlySky as well. Let's see here, this is all for the Taranis, and then we got this one for your FlySky radio. And then there should be some instructions here as well for your DSM-2. There we go, DSM-2 version. So just like the original QX90, this one comes with instructions for all three receivers. It's basically how to arm and disarm. Looks pretty much exactly the same as the original. We got some spare props here. These are 55mm. I believe these are like Ladybird propellers or clones of the Ladybird propellers, and we also get a carbon fiber prop removal tool. That's pretty much standard for all these brushed micros. Okay, so here is the USB charger for 1S batteries, and it comes with a micro low-C connector. Okay, and they're including two extra motors, a clockwise and a counterclockwise spare. This is also pretty much standard for all these brushed micros from Eachine. Okay, and here is the quad itself. Looks like the camera is directly soldered into the back here. Right there is where the camera wire is attached to where the battery connector is, and this is the back of the quad here. Okay, so it looks like you would put the camera here, right here in the middle of the quad. It would sit sort of like this, and you would use the rubber band here to secure it with these little posts here on the side. There's one on each side, and I'll show you that a little bit later. I'll attach this off camera. You get a battery. Looks like you only get one battery this time, and you can see here on the bottom. You got this is all plastic. I think it's polycarbonate, and this is the battery holder. So this is a pretty much standard battery that comes with all the Eachine brushed micros, and I think it's 600 milliamps. Let me just check that. Yeah, so yeah, 1S 600 milliamp hour battery. This is a standard battery that comes with a lot of these brushed micros, so if you have some of the other Eachine batteries, this will fit this model, but of course this one only comes with the one. And you can see obviously the frame is made out of plastic. I think it's polycarbonate. It's fairly flexible compared to a carbon frame. Now, I've heard that this still does fly pretty well, so I'm assuming that the flexibility here is not going to affect the flight characteristics too much, although I'll have to see myself as to how that actually turns out. One of the reasons why I didn't have any interest in actually getting this is because of the plastic frame, and I'm a little bit concerned about the durability. You can see here very little plastic here between this foot and this motor holder part, and I can see that definitely snapping off in a hard crash. And then this strut here is supporting the actual motor itself, so in a hard crash you could definitely snap it off here. There's a vertical piece here that gives the arm a little bit more strength, otherwise it would be really floppy, although it doesn't extend all the way out, which I think would be better than having this little foot here, and maybe having a foot underneath here instead of a rubber pad. Just small little design decisions that they made. I think I probably would have done a little bit different. I'm hoping I don't crash this right away. I do want to enjoy flying this for a little bit. So I don't want to be testing the durability right away, so I'll probably fly this at the park over some grass, and that should save it from any hard crashes. The flight board here, let's see, okay. So the flight board here is an SP Racing F3, I think it's an Evo, with you can see here there's the receiver antenna. It comes with a built-in receiver. And I'm looking for the bind. Okay, so I was looking for a bind plug, but there isn't a bind plug on here. What there is are these two little solder pads right there. So you have to bridge that. So you probably have to solder that and bridge it, and then that will put the internal receiver into bind mode, and then you can bind it to your FlySky radio. I'm going to bind this to the FlySky i6 because this internal receiver only does the first generation protocol, the 1A protocol. It does not do the 2A protocol that works with the Evolution, so I can't fly this with the Evolution. I may mod this with a FS8S receiver, although I'm not sure I'm going to have any room here to put it. It's very tight. I'm looking at this board. There's really no space in between the top here and the flight board. The flight board is very snugly enclosed into the frame here, so probably not going to be able to do that. So unfortunately, as much as I would like, it doesn't look like I'm going to be able to do that. Hopefully Eachine will start coming out with more boards with internal receivers that do the second generation protocol. That would be ideal. So in 2017, I think I'm expecting that to happen, so hopefully sooner than later. Okay, so here's another look at the camera, and you see here this is actually the exact same camera that was on the QX90 and the QX95. It's the one with the dip switches in the back, so I believe this one's only 32 channels. It's got pretty decent image quality, and it's 25 milliwatts, so you're going to get some pretty good range as well for these little micros. Although this one still comes with the cloverleaf antenna, that these tend to get splatted and crushed in crashes, and I've pretty much broken off all of these on crashes. They're very, even with hot glue in here, they bend very easily. So I've actually been modding a lot of these by taking the whole antenna off and then putting on a linear whip antenna, which is actually more crash resistant. So I usually just wait until I crash it enough and break this, and then I just swap it out later. So I'll be flying it stock for now. Okay, let's get a weight of this guy, see how much it weighs. And without the battery, it's about 33.6 grams, so this is definitely lighter than the original QX90. And actually, let's put this together with the battery and see how much this weighs. So it comes in under 50 grams with including the battery. So I think this is definitely lighter than the original QX90, so it should have better performance. Okay, so let's go ahead and plug it into the computer. I believe it comes with Cleanflight on there, and we'll take a look at the stock settings. I'm going to fly this with the stock settings first, and then if you guys want to see a Betaflight flash and tune and all that, be sure to leave me a comment below. Usually I'm not going to probably do that for these anymore until I see enough interest in that. So if you want to see that, definitely leave me a comment so I know that you're interested. Otherwise, I'll assume that there isn't enough interest in that. So, okay, let's go take a look at this on the computer. Okay, so I got the QX90C plugged into the computer. Let's take a look at how it's set up. And it looks like we have an SP Racing F3 Evo board and Cleanflight version 1.13, so I think that's the latest version. Let's see what kind of ports we got set up here. So this board has the virtual COM port, and UART1 is enabled for MSP, and I believe the onboard receiver is PPM, so the other UARTs aren't going to be used for a receiver. And here in the config, we got motor stop enabled. This looks like pretty standard, 1150 to 2000 min max throttle. And VBAT enabled. Current meter is on. I'm going to turn that off because that's usually not going to be used for anything. Same with RSSI. They have telemetry enabled and LED strip enabled. I'm going to disable those because I'm not using those, and there's no LED strip on this particular model. I'll save and reboot. So for these FlySky first gen receivers, failsafe apparently doesn't work, so I'm not going to be doing anything here with the failsafe. Okay, so here's the PID tuning tab, and these looks like they've put in some default PIDs here for this model, 80 pitch and roll and 44 for the D. This looks like someone did try to put some sort of tuning into here because these are not the default PIDs for Cleanflight, and also for the rate as well. Although the rate for yaw seems a little low, but I'm going to fly it just like it is out of the box. I'm not going to change these, and see how good it is, and see, then I can give you guys some feedbacks to what to change to make it feel better. So I've already bound this to my i6 radio, and the onboard receiver is powered by USB. You don't have to plug a battery in to get the receiver to power on. And I have my radio bound, and it looks like the endpoints are pretty close to 1000 and 2000. This is what you want to check for, and we want to make sure that the direction is also correct. So I'm checking direction and the endpoints and also the centering. It's about 150302. That's not bad. I'll probably just going to leave it alone. And the yaw looks good. Throttle looks good. So you want to make sure the directions are good, you have the full range, and that your centering is good. So even if you get all these like ready to fly models or almost ready to fly models, you always want to check that your channels are going the right way, because if they aren't, then you take off and you give it an input. You want to go to the right, and it ends up going to the left, and you end up crashing. So definitely want to make sure that all of these are correct and double check that. And it looks like aux1 is working as well. That's channel 5. And I think that's used for arming. So since the centering is a little bit off here, usually if you put in some deadband, I usually like 5. That typically works out pretty well, where the little jitter here in the middle doesn't really affect your flight at all. So I'll go ahead and now reboot. And then we'll take a look at the modes. And you have arming on aux1 or channel 5 on your radio, and we see that that's working, and it looks like it's defaulting to angle mode or self-level mode, and I don't usually fly that, but I'm going to fly it for this model initially, because I want to give you guys feedback on the out-of-the-box experience as always. And I don't believe any of these other tabs are going to be used for anything here, so that's the end of the Cleanflight part of the video. I guess at this point, let's go ahead and fly it. Okay guys, I just want to show you a couple things before I actually fly it. I was doing some sort of last second here pre-flight checks, and first of all, let me just show you that this is how I mounted the camera. I did put a little bit of sticky foam on this first plastic piece here, just to prevent the camera from sliding around, and also giving it a little bit of up tilt, so I don't get too much of the front of this front part of the frame in view. And then I just have it secured with the rubber band that was included, and it just goes over the in between the two pieces of the camera and the video transmitter part here, and it goes to the other side. And I've taken all the props off because one of the props was very loose and just actually fell off as I was picking up the quad. So I noticed that all the props were very loose. So what I'm doing now is I'm putting them back on using the dental floss trick. And this will, if you ever have one of these models where the props are very loose, and they'll basically fly off in a crash or just fly off in midair while you're just flying around if they're too loose, which will obviously you'll end up crashing. So you always want to check for that. And I use this thing called the dental floss trick, where I stick some dental floss in the little hole where the prop is, and I'll demonstrate that here. So there's a small hole there where the shaft of the motor goes in, and I stick. Let's see if I can show. Okay, so then I stick some dental floss in here. Okay, so then, as you can see, I put a little bit of dental floss in that hole, and then there's a little bit hanging out, so that I can hold that so that the whole thing doesn't get shoved in. And then I put it on the motor stem here. That gives a little bit of stickiness so that it will grab on, and also takes up a little bit of space so that you get a little tighter fit on the motor. So let me go and stick this on. You want to make sure that the tail of this floss doesn't go all the way in. And I can already tell that it's going to be much more snug fit. There we go. And then you want to get that the whole prop all the way down to almost to the top of the can of the motor, so that it doesn't push through the bottom here. Although it's unlikely, because there's some pieces here in the plastic that's holding the bottom on, so that the motor doesn't slide all the way through. So not too likely, but you want to get that as far down as possible. When these were on here originally, they were basically just barely stuck on to the top there. Let's see if I can get that to focus. There you go. Okay, so let's get the other two on and we'll go and fly it. Hey guys, I'm here at the park and it's finally stopped raining. After several days of rain, and check out those clouds. It's pretty crazy looking. There's water everywhere, so I'm not going to be doing anything crazy on this test flight with the QX90C, because I don't want to drop it in a big puddle of water and kill it. So just get a little bit of footage here, flight footage, and I'll tell you what I think. Yeah, so that was the maiden flight of the Eachine QX90C, and I like it. It flies well. It's pretty. It needs a little bit of tuning. It's not as locked in as I would like. I think I'm gonna have to increase the gains. It's pretty much what I expected. But flies predictably well, and it pretty much goes where I want it to go, and has pretty good power. Surprisingly, more than I expected. I think these are perhaps the motors that were on the QX95. Not 100% sure, but it does have quite a bit more power than I expected, and flies really well. And the FPV image is really good off the camera. I think it might be an updated version of the camera, possibly. Colors are really good. The contrast was really good. I had no trouble seeing where I was going. So anyway, guys, I hope you enjoyed this maiden flight and review of the Eachine QX90C. Let me know if you have any questions in the comments section below, and I will talk to you guys in the next video.